So, the media is imploding, folks. If you haven't been paying attention, I hope you're paying attention now. Glenn Greenwald. Greenwald, who I generally like, but he personally rubs me the wrong way on several issues regarding Islam and public spats that he's had with Sam Harris about it. He tends to misrepresent Sam in a very insidious way, but... So he was on CNN discussing the serious impropriety, as he called it, between the media and the Clinton campaign, as was shown in all the WikiLeaks emails. Collusion of the highest order, which I find comical, of course. Like, dude, why are some people acting as though they're shocked? This is not a revelation, it's a confirmation. A confirmation of shit most of us have known for quite a long time. Since I was a teenager, actually, in the 90s, when I bought my first Rage Against the Machine album, I've known about the cozy relationship between government and the lamestream media. Half of the people in government are married to people in the media. Are these emails really a smoking gun? Like, you know, if you brought up the relationship between government and media, it's like awkward. It's like talking about your pedo uncle at Thanksgiving dinner. You can't do it. No, be quiet. Don't talk about that. We don't talk about that here and now. So when do we talk about it? CNN even went so far as to insinuate on air. Oh God, hilarious. Chris Cuomo on CNN reporting on this. He went so far as to insinuate on air that looking at WikiLeaks emails was illegal. Like, listen, guys, to the viewing public at home, we're the media. You can trust us. I mean, he literally said words to that effect. He literally said words to the effect of, like, listen, guys, we can do it, but just be careful. This is illegal. Oh, man. It reminds me of Donna Brazile, actually. It reminds me of Donna Brazile, the DNC chair, telling staffers not to read the leaked emails because they might get malware on their devices. God help us, we might get malware on my iPhone 7, on my Samsung Galaxy Note. That might explode anyway. Guys, listen, Donna Brazile saying to her staffers, DNC staffers, listen, guys, it'll make, if you go to visit WikiLeaks website, it'll make your phone battery explode. This is how ridiculous things have gotten. And it doesn't stop there, folks. Oh no. They even cut Julian Assange's internet at the Ecuadorian embassy in London. We gotta stop these leaks. We gotta stop these leaks somehow. We have more pressing news to cover, like Donald Trump's alleged peeping on teen pageant contestants. So if Assange's internet is cut, could it be because he's right about Hillary Clinton's corruption? If they took it so far to Lorena Bobbitt this dude's internet, then that in and of itself, I think, is a pretty damning indictment. So WikiLeaks themselves have officially taken up the position that it was done by a state actor. And you never know. I mean, maybe Obama made a phone call to the UK or what. Hillary, she's got many friends in high places. Somebody certainly made a phone call to someone, because the likelihood of Julian Assange's internet suddenly going dark in the midst of the largest email leaks in the history of whistleblowing, it strikes me as just a little too coincidental. Just a little too coincidental. And as of the recording of this video, Julian Assange is confirmed to be alive and well, thankfully. Well, in related news, the UK froze, speaking of the UK and state actors and doing all kinds of wacky shit, the UK froze the Russian TV network RT's bank accounts. And that comes on the heels of news that the CIA is prepping for a possible cyber strike on Russia. Apparently, the Obama administration has been contemplating what NBC calls an unprecedented cyber covert action against Russia. I don't know how covert that cyber strike could possibly be when your administration tells all of their corporate news mouthpieces about the covert cyber strike that they're planning. I'm pretty sure covert is a synonym for secret. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here. Which would be in retaliation for Russian interference, air quotes, in our presidential election. And I don't know if I believe it. I don't really know if I believe all this Cold War bullshit that you're seeing drummed up right now. I think even the Cold War shit is possibly kind of election rigging, mass media manipulation, engineering of consent, because people have a very short memory, but I have a very long one. And I'd like to have longer other things, but unfortunately God gave me a long memory instead. So he gave me all the wrong shit. Big feet. Thanks God. But anyway, so back in 2012, and I touched on this briefly in my second debate analysis video, Obama was caught on a hot mic telling Medvedev Dmitry Medvedev, for those who don't know who I'm talking about. He was the president of Russia at the time. And he's also a good buddy of, wait for it, dun 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 dun, Vladimir Putin! Oh, big surprise there. Yeah, Putin handed control of Russia over to Medvedev. And then Medvedev handed it back to Putin. Do you see how this works? A circle jerk of political corruption. Not unlike our Bush and Clinton dynasties. So Obama was caught on a hot mic. And here's a direct quote. He said, "This is my last election." And I thought this was creepy at the time. And I remember telling people, Obama's got this. I would bet money on it. Obama's got this. And because this was caught before the vote. He said, "This is my last election. After my election, I have more flexibility." To which Medvedev responded, "I understand, comrade. I will transmit this information to Vladimir." Vladimir who? I wonder. Putin? Duh. So he was prime minister at the time. I don't know how they have a president and a prime minister. I don't exactly understand how the Russian Federation works, but yeah, he was going to transmit that information to Putin. So Obama and Putin, like, hey, we know that they're probably they're in pretty good with each other. Unbelievable. And nobody seems to remember this shit but me. Yeah, so I'm not particularly afraid of World War III breaking out. I could be wrong. I don't know. But I'm just not. I'm not afraid of World War III. So I'm not going to be ordering any DNA Force. DNA Force on sale now. $135. Oh, okay, Alex. Alex Jones special World War III proof iodine-infused DNA Force supplement. Only $135.95 or whatever the fuck it costs. Sure, there might be some skirmishes or whatever regarding the Syrian no-fly zone stuff that Hillary wants to implement, but so what? So what? That's not going to be World War III. I mean, it's going to be bad, though, obviously. Each side sacrifices some pawns. Pawns, human lives, in case you don't know, and eventually divvies up the Middle East spoils amongst each other. But, who cares? It's just a little money and peasant blood in the end. Donald Trump doesn't want to start shit with Russia. Super lefty candidate Jill Stein has even come out and said, between the two, Trump is better than Clinton on foreign policy. The Green Party candidate said this. Powerful Jill Stein. I might have to vote for her. And if it ends up being a vote for Trump, then I'll consider that two birds with one stone at this point. And so Breitbart reported on this. Breitbart wrote something like a glowing article saying, hey, Jill Stein. So if Breitbart and Jill Stein agree on something, a massive tectonic shift is occurring right now. Now, as far as the polls go, despite all the leaks, despite all the leaks and all the sexual assault allegations against Trump, which, to play devil's advocate, none of that it's all been hearsay. It's all been hearsay, and I'm not trying to victim blame or minimize victims here. I'm not Whoopi Goldberg, and I'm not Joy Behar of The View, because they got themselves into some hot water. I don't shame alleged rape victims. But I do require more proof than hearsay to convict someone, and generally so does the law. So here's something to consider. Now, we're 3 weeks out from the presidential election, and suddenly we have a guy, Donald Trump. Now, he's been a media sort of person. He's been a prominent media figure for 30, going on 40 years, and no allegations have ever come out. Now, suddenly, 3 weeks out from the presidential election, and since the release of the Grab Them by the Pussy tape with Billy Bush, who Billy Bush is a Bush, by the way. Just then again, I haven't heard anything from him. We know that the Bush family and the Clinton family are buddy-buddy. Billy Bush is the nephew, I believe, of H.W. Bush and the cousin of George W. Bush. And we have not heard anything from him. And now he's and we know that the legacy media is in collusion with the Clinton campaign. And he worked for NBC, and NBC is giving him a $10 million payout. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, as I always say, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but people conspire to do things. And when you see this many sort of loose ends, you do have to question it. So it is weird that since the Grab Them by the Pussy tape came out, Trump is getting inundated by legions of rape allegations and sexual misconduct that transpired decades ago. Some have come forward to defend Trump, who are involved in the Miss USA and Miss Teen USA, and when he was in charge of all of these Miss America pageants and what have you. Some of those people have come forward. A fair amount, actually, have come forward, but you're only seeing them on social media. because the media is giving them less airtime than they gave Bernie Sanders. In fact, it's 7-1 coverage. 7-1 coverage of negative Trump to negative Hillary stories. So, right, despite all that stuff, despite all the lamestream media, corporate news agencies burying all the Hillary WikiLeaks scandals under the, I would call, fairly far-fetched Trump sexual assault scandals, the polls are still in a dead heat. Still in a dead heat. Now, on that note, there's one thing I'd like to point out. New media, social media, the internet, an unprecedented, and I'm going to link all this in the description. Please, by all means, do not take my word for anything. Anything I say, by all means, I want you to research it yourself. I want you to go to these links, and if you can discover something that perhaps I missed, if you can invalidate the info, if I missed a data point, if I confused something, made a mistake, by all means, point it out. So new media, social media, the internet. According to a Gallup poll, an unprecedented amount of Americans distrust the mass media, the legacy media, your ABCs, CBS, NBC News, the cable networks, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, etc. Again, an unprecedented amount of Americans distrust anything they have to say. So, with that said, this is where Google Trends comes in. Let's see. Because what else, and if anyone has any suggestions, what else would be a decent overall indicator of what's driving traffic online? Right? So this is what I figure. So we live in a digital age. Everyone's using their phones and laptops for info, and not so much the TV news anymore. Let's compare some terms, shall we? Trump, pussy, versus WikiLeaks. My. All right. What's one of his other recent scandals? Let's try Trump, teen, USA versus WikiLeaks. Boy, oh boy. My. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Okay, last one. So Trump, grope, versus WikiLeaks, emails. And I think it's pretty clear what people are interested in, wouldn't you say? And presumably, a greater swath of internet searches, I would assume, I don't know, I thought I could be wrong about this, is going to be from, the 18 to, 35 crowd. Maybe 40, 18 to 40. So millennial voters, this is my point, millennial voters, Generation X voters, rather than the, rather than the baby boomer crowd, or older than that. One would assume who's driving more in traffic online. It's going to be probably a younger demographic. Although polling data is still important, there are other variables, such as this, to take into consideration. But, no matter what Google Trends says, if you're a Trump supporter, don't let this get your hopes up. No matter what Google Trends says, or, you're looking at these graphs and you're thinking, oh boy, you're becoming optimistic. Don't get overly optimistic. If Trump is down by 20 plus points in the polls come the first week of November, I'd say it's a safe bet he's not going to win. He won't win if he's down by 20 plus points. If he's down by 10 points, I don't know. It'll be iffy, but I would say probably not, because It's just not likely. The polls aren't perfect, but they're a fairly good indicator. Now, if it's still in a dead heat, which I'm predicting it will be, I'm predicting it's still going to be in a dead heat. And in that case, I'm going to say he just might end up being Mr. Brexit after all.